Hello fellow travelers, my name's SG and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be going over a cult classic known as Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Now this is one of my favorites. I do enjoy old comedies, as you've seen from my Abbott and Costello videos and various other ones, and I do plan to do more as we go along, but I want to spread them out, that way it's not like all of them all at once. So for right now we're just going to do Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We might do more of Monty Python like The Life of Brian or The Book of Life, but we'll see. So anyway, let's get started, shall we? The overall story is that King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table are on a search for the Holy Grail. This was given to them by God himself, and God is even shown in this movie in the silliest way possible. This is inspired by the classic tale King Arthur, but unlike the regular tale of King Arthur, this was told in a satirical form, as more of a comedy rather than an action. Not to say there isn't any action in it, there is quite a bit, but it's the comedy that really sends it, that sells this movie, and it is the obscure, the episodic nature of it, because these guys are good with sketch comedy, the group Monty Python themselves, and this just shows off their talents in the best way possible. In fact, I can't even say that there is a spoiler in this movie, not just because it's back in 1975, but rather this is pretty much just what you're gonna find. Do they find the Holy Grail? No, they don't. But that's kind of the joke, that they all separated looking for the Holy Grail but get sidetracked by stupid things along the way. Some from the book, some kind of made up. And it meshes well into this weird, you swear to God, episodic skit show, but it all ties together to an overall movie, and it does keep your attention for the long run of it all. And just to prove that point, just watch the first 5 minutes of it, and you kind of get the idea, okay, this is the direction they're going. And I'm going to be straightforward with a lot of people. This is the kind of movie that probably won't get to most people. This is a certain type of humor that only like a certain group of people will like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I am definitely one of the people that would really enjoy this movie for what it is. So if I say you should give it a shot, I think everybody should at least see it once and judge it from there. A lot of people do like Monty Python, but there are a lot more people that don't like Monty Python, and it's foreseeable why either way. Now, the cast really does make the story in this situation. Like, Graham Chapman as King Arthur just really pulled through with emotion and the kind of situation that you can buy it through his reactions, is what I'm saying. You can really tell that either this is really annoying or that this really doesn't make sense from his perspective. Like, he is the straight man acting like a straight man in a crazy world. And that's kind of the humor of it all. That he's trying to look for the Holy Grail while at the same time look for his Knights of the Round Table. If you're looking for like any drama between him and Lancelot or anything like that, you definitely won't find it here. But that's not what it's supposed to be about. This is more relying on the comedy. Like, the bit with King Arthur and the Black Knight is comedy gold. It is what is often referred to when thinking of that style of humor. And like, a lot of people will refer back to it, and even today's standards, it can stand on its own. And then there is a lot of play with the myths and the mythos of King Arthur. Like, they do mention that he did pull the sword from the Lady in the Lake, that she did give him the sword which made him King of the Britons. And they do mock that. They do think like, why do we have to follow that? As you can hear the conversation of two peasants in the beginning of the movie. It's funny, and it adds to the story just a little bit, not enough to be important, but it does add to it, and it shows this world's sense of humor in it. Like, they do ramble. I'm not gonna say they don't, and it can be a little bit of a challenge to like sit through it all, but if you do, it's a fun time, yeah? And another one that like you see is Eric Idle as Sir Robin. He was another perfect fit for this role, and John Cleese as most of the cast. He himself is the Black Knight, along with a great majority of characters, which makes funny because if you know Monty Python, you know they love showing themselves as different characters on and on and on again, which isn't wrong, and it definitely doesn't look like it's just the same character. You could just tell it's the same actor. So, the characters, the acting is all well done. It's buyable, but it doesn't leave enough for drama. So if you're looking for the drama of coming from these actors, you're not gonna find it. This is a movie that like you sit down and just enjoy the joke of it all. And that's really where they shine. That's where all the actors kind of came out in this. Now, the settings are of the time. Like, there wasn't a big budget to do a lot of stuff. Which is interesting considering the backers, which I will say in a minute. That in itself was very funny to me. But you could tell that they used what they had and they used it well. Like, the castle they used in the entire movie, because in the movie they show at least 3 to 4 different castles. But if you look at the castle itself and look at the facts of the movie, you know that it's the same castle, just pointing in different angles and at different times of the day. That is very creative and very cost effective. It is very interesting that the castle itself is kind of a character just like them, where they can portray different characters in different forms. So does the castle. So it's an odd addition to it all, but I do enjoy it. And maybe I'm reaching a little more than most do with this kind of situation, but I just think that's a funny thing, that like connection I can make, that they've turned the castle itself into kind of an actor of their group, and that's funny to me. The setting itself is mainly wood area, like when you see the fight with the Black Knight or the Knights that say Neep. It's mainly in a wooded area, and it's mainly in the same area, but it's shot in a way and put together in a way that you can't really tell, and that is a brilliance to it, and that's what kind of makes it fun. That like you could tell that they did this because they enjoyed it and they just didn't want to cheap out. They tried their best to make it look and feel interesting and unique in every different scene. So well done on that end, I would have to say, to John Cleese and all them. Now, I'm gonna add animation just for a little bit, and that's mainly because of the intro sequence, and because we do see an animated version of God, and it is pretty funny. It is kind of one of the more memorable moments of the movie, when King Arthur gets his task to find the Holy Grail from God himself, and it just looks so funny, and the personality of God they gave is just so entertaining that you wished he was like a recurring character in the movie, even if he was just like watching it from the sidelines, because it's fun and it's interesting and it's just really pleasing to look at. So the animation's top notch, I would have to say. I can't really say there are many special effects. I can tell that they're all rather practical, like with the Black Knight when he loses his arms, or when there's a sudden like King Arthur documentary in the middle. You can tell that there's a little of effect to it, and the makeup is very well done. Like, it's gotten to the point where you couldn't even tell which character was which actor, and it is very fun, and you could tell that they took time with the practical effects. Like, it wasn't like a main thing, but the costuming, the characterizations of them all, plus the added effect to it, really did help push the story along in a different way. Like, there are certain times where there's an explosion and it's just a puff of smoke, but it's made to look like it's something bigger, like with the holy hand grenade in the cave, or like when there's like when they're attacking the beast of the cave and it's a rabbit, and they're just going with like lights flickering off and on and like zoom in effects. Like, there are very few of these moments, but it's done practically and it's done in a fun way where you don't really care. It's still interesting, it's still entertaining, and like, I have to say, it's good. You know, it just shows that you don't need a big budget like special effects situation going for it to still be entertaining and you to still buy that this is happening in this world. Now, if we're gonna talk references, the main idea is that the reference is that they're making fun of the King Arthur mythos. They're making fun of the myth of King Arthur in different variations and different trials he went through while looking for his men, and at the same time looking for the Holy Grail. That's the only real reference there is, because, and I say a reference because they're not doing it straightforward. They're doing it in a silly and impractical way, and it just, it's the main driving force, but it's not the main idea. It's like leading a joke, like it's the leading to the punchline. So if you want to say there's references, you would have to look into the King Arthur stories as they are. And I do recommend it. I do encourage it. Go ahead and look up some of the King Arthur's mythos. You'll find the thing about the Lady in the Lake. You'll find him looking for the Holy Grail. You'll find him fighting knights here and there, and even more about his Knights of the Round Table. And I do recommend, looking into the King Arthur story, because it is interesting. It's fun, and it is something that keeps coming back in different genres, in different formats, and in different shows, movies. There's probably at least 2 shows you've seen do the King Arthur storyline. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a fun and entertaining movie. If you go looking for something that will tell you the story of King Arthur and his brave journey to finding the Holy Grail, and how he assembled his brave knights to help him in this quest, you probably shouldn't watch this. You won't find that. You will find a parody of King Arthur's story. And that's not wrong. This is a fun take on the whole mytho. And I think that anyone who can jump into this and find something they enjoy, I think it's worth watching, I definitely think that everybody should at least see this once and see if it's my sense of humor, or they say, nah, I don't like this. Because honestly, I've seen it so many times I can see both sides. And while it is my kind of thing, I know a lot of people who says it isn't their kind of thing. But this is really where comedy comes from. This is kind of like the grandfather of modern comedy. You couldn't understand current comedy without following the Monty Python formula, which is set up, punchline, then punchline again, and then punchline probably one more time. And then I think this is a good example of how to do a parody right. And I do think there is still a lot to be taken out of. The writers are hilarious. The directing was good. The shots that were done at the castle were amazing, while at the same time the budget was so small, and it even had some very well-known backers that helped push this movie forward, like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. They helped get this movie off the ground when it was suffering from almost not existing. So I think that there is definitely still something to take away from this, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I did. I know I enjoyed watching the movie again, because, who doesn't enjoy watching a Monty Python film? Please leave a like and comment down below if you want to. I would really appreciate a like at least. And please subscribe. I know I would really like to make it to 100 before Christmas ends. So yeah, please help me out and please subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and see you guys next time.